As we move towards competitive contracting for asylum seeker programs, we've chosen not to renew the emergency contract for this pilot program once the year term concludes. He's talking about the taxpayer-funded prepaid debit cards program for illegal immigrants here in New York City.
Listen, everything's changed.
Already sunset.
Which angered so many people. They're like, what? They're getting debit cards?
New York City was issuing debit cards to illegal immigrants. And this is here on the Lawyer Monthly webpage. New York City halts $18,500 prepaid card program for migrants amid criticism. Housing and a lot of other benefits as well, but $18,500 annually. Also, we have the IOM, the UN migration. They give them a credit card. Here we go. For immigrants. And mostly this money that they're using from the UN, it's U.S. money. It's American money that's being used. And they're giving these credit cards to illegal immigrants all over the United States and many other states besides New York.
Debit cards. I saw it for myself. I spoke to migrants outside. We're going to get to that in a second. But I thought this was interesting. The New York Post guys, Trump calling Eric Adams saying he wants to rebuild the city he loves. So a lot of people who were run out of the city, who were charged with crimes that were specious here, right down the street here in Manhattan, might say, screw that city. But he's like, no, I love this city. And I want to help you rebuild New York City.
For sure. I think when it comes to immigration, and you talked about foreign wars, I think you'll see from multiple cabinet secretaries a renewed focus with our agencies on the southern border, right? That the invasion is right here of our homeland, and that needs to be taken care of front and center. For sure. And
people mad. We were defending borders in Ukraine and not our own. I, by the way, told you guys a couple weeks ago, I went out and spoke to illegal migrants and got some of their reactions to different things that are happening. I asked one of them about Tren de Aragua.
Here on the U.S. Department of the Treasury website, it says Treasury sanctions Tren de Aragua as a transnational criminal organization. Washington today. The U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control sanctioned Tren de Aragua, a Venezuela-based transnational criminal organization that is expanding throughout the Western Hemisphere and engaging in diverse criminal activities such as human smuggling and trafficking, gender-based violence, money laundering, and illicit drug trafficking. Let's take a look at this video.
Tren de Aragua, now linked to more than 100 police investigations across the country, and their influence is growing. News Nation correspondent Jorge Ventura tracking this criminal organization for us. Jorge, what are we learning?
Well, Natasha, some officials have actually described Tren de Aragua as MS-13 on steroids, a reference to the infamous Salvadorian gang. Tren de Aragua is a Venezuelan prison gang which in large part was seen to be contained in South America, but now has spread its influence to here in the United States and operating in states like New York, Colorado, even Wisconsin, and where you are, Natasha, in Chicago. And according to some reports, have even been given the green light to open fire on American law enforcement.
From armed robbery to looting of high-end stores, authorities began tracking the Tren de Aragua gang operations in New York City, where gang members have been involved in robberies and violent clashes with law enforcement, including this brutal attack on NYPD officers in January. At least 2 of the 14 suspects have been linked to the gang. Another shocking incident that made national headlines, the murder of nursing student Lincoln Riley. Authorities believe the suspects, 2 brothers identified as Diego and Jose Ibarra, have ties to the Tren de Aragua gang. More recently, 2 major incidents in Colorado also involving the Tren de Aragua gang in Aurora. Gang members have been linked to violent incidents at several apartment complexes. As you can see, the alleged gang members carrying assault rifles. Local police have responded to numerous cases where residents were victims of armed robberies and home invasions. And in Denver, thieves suspected to be linked to the Tren de Aragua gang pulled off a high-profile jewelry heist, stealing over $100,000 worth of merchandise. In the video, the robbers are seen pulling out guns, pushing open an office door, and pistol whipping two women who fall onto the floor. In El Paso, Texas, authorities uncovered a human smuggling operation where victims were held against their will. The gang is reportedly using these hotels as temporary holding centers before moving victims across state lines. But it doesn't stop there. In addition to being spotted in New York, Colorado, and Texas, the gang has expanded to Miami, Chicago, and Wisconsin. U.S. officials fear that the Tren de Aragua gang could destabilize these areas, much like they did in South America, as this organization is notorious for brutal violence, drug trafficking, and extortion. Homeland Security investigation revealed that the Tren de Aragua gang members are young men aged 18 to 25, often wearing high-end streetwear like Chicago Bulls jerseys and Michael Jordan sneakers. They also have distinct tattoos featuring Venezuelan flags or gang symbols, making them easier to spot.
Now, it's not just American law enforcement who are on high alert, so are the Mexican authorities. In the Mexican state of Chihuahua, authorities there have already began inviting experts from South America to go over the tactics of Tren de Aragua. According to Mexican authorities, they also believe that Tren de Aragua is already linked to 3 homicides in the Mexico City area. Natasha.
Yeah, I appreciate you tracking that. Jorge Ventura live for us in San Antonio tonight. Thank you.
De Aragua and what they had been seeing, what he had been seeing. Listen to this clip. It's fascinating. He's got a lot of advice for America. Listen.
La situación con las pandillas, especialmente la pandilla o el cartel de Tren de Aragua, ha aumentado crimen o su presencia de esta pandilla.
Sí, cada día aumenta más, parece mentira, pero sí aumenta. No he convivido con ellos, pero sí tengo una compañerita que la conozco y en el hotel donde ella pernota, ellos están haciendo vida allí. Y lo que ella me comenta es que estas personas prácticamente toman el control de esos espacios, de esos lugares. Entonces ahí es donde yo vengo, que tiene que haber intervención del gobierno. No es solamente un agente de seguridad, sino debe haber algo mayor que controle eso. O sea, ¿cómo le van a dar beneficio a una persona que esté haciendo daño y de paso que se quiera controlar todo el edificio? No es posible. Debe existir un refuerzo, digo yo, masivo, porque creo que la seguridad es muy poca para lo que realmente está entrando acá a este país.
I wish this clip had gone a little longer. I said to him, is America turning into Venezuela? And this guy happens to be a Venezuelan. He goes, yep, you guys are turning into Venezuela. He also went on to tell me, listen, why aren't you guys vetting people before they enter the country? He's like, it's too late if you vet them after. This is an illegal immigrant who's saying, why are you giving benefits to gang members who have taken over the hotels that we're staying in? This was a fascinating interview of sort of the common sense of those who came across here illegally that our own leaders don't have.
And voters agree. I mean, remain in Mexico, coming back. Building the wall, coming back. A mass deportation, coming to a town near you. Starting with criminals, starting with gang members. So voters here have, thanks to you, the great work that you've done talking about that, I think voters are way more well informed about the threat of our southern border.